months, Aisha Nelson called police to say her ex-boyfriend was threatening to kill her.
He didn't start doing any of this until after he grabbed the gun. And this is the second, he said 2 times, asked me, am I willing to lose my life? And I don't like that.
This is body cam footage of Aisha Nelson describing the words and actions of her boyfriend, 31-year-old Dante Hawes, and insisting to police that she was uncomfortable before he then killed her, her daughter, and then himself. The altercation started on June 22nd.
You're really willing to lose your life over a gun. Those were the words 31-year-old Aisha Nelson said to her boyfriend, Dante Hawes, the night before she called police. She said it on body camera to 2 police officers standing in her living room at 1:30 in the morning, while her 6-year-old daughter Harper slept upstairs. She told them he had a gun. She told them he threatened to kill her. She told them she was scared. She begged them to make him leave just for the night, just so she could be safe. The officers talked to them for 30 minutes, and then they left. They didn't arrest him. They didn't take the gun. They didn't file a report. They just left. 1 hour later, Aisha Nelson and her 6-year-old daughter Harper were shot dead in the basement of their home. This is the story of how police failed Aisha Nelson, how they heard her beg for help and did nothing, how they left a gun in the hands of a man who threatened to kill her, and how that gun was used to murder a mother and her baby girl exactly 1 hour after police walked out the door. Hit that like button if this is already making you angry. Drop your thoughts in the comments. And subscribe, because this case will make you question everything about how police handle domestic violence. Now let's get into it. Aisha Nelson was 31 years old. She lived in Dayton, Ohio. She had a 6-year-old daughter named Harper Monroe Guine. Harper was her world, her baby, her everything. Aisha worked hard to provide for Harper, to give her a good life, to keep her safe. But Aisha was in a relationship that was falling apart, with a man named Waverly Dante Hawes. Everyone called him Dante. He was 32 years old, and he lived with Aisha and Harper in their home on Burleigh Avenue in West Dayton. For weeks, maybe months, things had been getting worse. Dante was becoming controlling, threatening, dangerous. He would yell at Aisha in front of Harper. He would wave a gun around the house, a gun that Aisha had actually purchased herself, and now he was using it to scare her, to control her, to make her feel trapped. June 22nd, 2022, the day before Aisha died, Dante and Aisha got into an argument, and during that argument, Dante pulled out the gun. He waved it around, and he threatened her. He told her if she didn't get out, he'd get his sisters to beat her up. And when Aisha said, "You're not going to do nothing," Dante escalated. "Matter of fact, get out," he said. "You can't kick me out. I pay rent here," Aisha replied. And that's when Dante said something that made Aisha realize how dangerous he really was. You're really willing to lose your life over a gun. Lose your life over a gun. He wasn't just threatening her anymore. He was telling her he would kill her with that gun if she didn't leave. But Aisha couldn't leave because Dante had cut up all her credit cards. He had emptied her bank accounts. She had no money, no way to get a hotel, no way to run. Her family lived out of state. She was trapped in her own home with a man who had just threatened to kill her while her 6-year-old daughter was upstairs. So Aisha did what you're supposed to do. She called the police. June 23rd, 2022, 1:30 a.m., Aisha Nelson dials 911. She tells them she needs help, that her boyfriend threatened her, that he has a gun, that she's scared, that she needs them to make him leave, just for the night, just so she and Harper can be safe. Dayton police officers Officers Santos and Moore respond to the call. They arrive at the Burleigh Avenue home. They turn on their body cameras, and they walk inside. Officer Santos talks to Aisha. Officer Moore talks to Dante. They separate them, just like they're supposed to, and Aisha tells Officer Santos everything. Last night he had the gun in his hand, and he came back upstairs like we just started arguing, and he was like, "If you don't get the fuck out of here, I'll get my sisters and everybody to beat you up." And I was like, "You're not going to do nothing," and he was like, "Matter of fact, get out." And I was like, "You can't kick me out. I pay rent here," so he was like, you're really willing to lose your life over a gun." She tells Officer Santos that Dante has been threatening her for days, that he's walking around the house waving the gun, that he did all of this in front of Harper, her 6-year-old daughter, and that's the issue she has. She doesn't want her baby seeing this, living in fear, growing up thinking this is normal. Aisha tells Officer Santos she can't leave because Dante cut up her credit cards, because she has no money, because her family is out of state. She's trapped. "Can you make him leave for the night?" Aisha asks. "Just for the night, just so she can breathe, just so she and Harper can feel safe for a few hours." But Officer Santos hesitates because Aisha seems calm. She's not crying, she's not hysterical, she's articulate, she's explaining everything clearly. And to Officer Santos, that means Aisha isn't really scared. That means the threats aren't real. That means this isn't serious. Meanwhile, Officer Moore is downstairs talking to Dante, and Dante is calm too. He's cooperative. He's saying it was just an argument, that he didn't really threaten her, that he'll stay in the basement for the night, that everything's fine. The two officers step away to talk, and you can hear them on the body camera trying to figure out what to do. "It would be a stretch," one officer says. "We could articulate it as domestic threats and take him to jail." But they don't, because Aisha seems calm, because Dante seems cooperative, because they don't think it's serious enough. They decide to leave, to let Dante stay in the basement, to tell Aisha to file a report in the morning if she wants. They don't arrest him, they don't take the gun, they don't file a report themselves, they don't remove one of them from the house, they just leave. At 2:35 a.m., Officers Santos and Moore walk out of Aisha Nelson's home, leaving her and Harper alone with Dante and that gun. Within minutes of the officers leaving, Dante went upstairs. He had the gun, the same gun Aisha told police about, the same gun the officers should have seized, and he used it. Bang bang, Aisha Nelson was shot, multiple times. She tried to protect Harper, tried to shield her baby, but Dante shot Harper too, a 6-year-old girl, her whole life ahead of her, shot dead in her own home. And then Dante ran. He got in his car and drove south, out of Ohio, through Kentucky, through Tennessee, all the way to Alabama, to Falkville, Alabama, about 600 miles away. And when he couldn't run anymore, when he realized police were coming for him, he turned that gun on himself. One shot, self-inflicted. Dante Hawes was dead. June 23, 2022, around noon, police receive a call for a welfare check at the Burley Avenue home. Officers arrive, they go inside, and they find Aisha and Harper in the basement, both dead, shot multiple times. Less than 10 hours after Officers Santos and Moore left that house. The Dayton Police Department immediately launched an internal investigation. They pulled the body camera footage. They interviewed the officers. They reviewed department policies, and what they found was damning. Officers Santos and Moore violated multiple department policies. They failed to seize the gun as contraband. They failed to file a domestic violence report. They failed to complete a witness statement. They failed to assess the danger Aisha and Harper were in. They failed to do their jobs, and 2 people died because of it. The internal investigation report was brutal. It stated that Officers Moore and Santos attempted to mediate the situation as if Nelson and Hawes were having a minor disagreement. In reality, though, Mr. Hawes was armed with a handgun, repeatedly threatened Ms. Nelson over multiple days, and cut off her credit cards in order to control her ability to leave. The report continued. Within minutes after Officers Moore and Santos cleared the scene, this unseized handgun was used by Mr. Hawes to kill Ms. Nelson and Ms. Nelson's 6-year-old daughter. Officer Santos was asked why she didn't take the threats seriously, why she didn't seize the gun, why she left Aisha and Harper in that house, and her answer was shocking. She did not paint the picture of somebody that was in fear of harm, Officer Santos said. She said Aisha was calm, cool, collected, and articulate. And because of that, Officer Santos didn't believe Aisha truly believed the threats. Let that sink in. Officer Santos admitted that she let her bias of how a crime victim should act cloud her judgment. She expected Aisha to be crying. hysterical, falling apart. And because Aisha wasn't acting that way, Officer Santos assumed she wasn't really in danger. But here's the thing, not every victim of domestic violence acts the same way. Some people cry, some people scream, some people shut down, and some people, like Aisha, stay calm because they're trying to survive. They're trying to explain clearly so police will help them. They're trying to hold it together because they have a child upstairs who's depending on them. Officer Santos' bias killed Aisha and Harper, her assumption that victims have to act a certain way, her failure to listen to the actual words Aisha was saying. "You're really willing to lose your life over a gun?" Those weren't the words of someone who wasn't scared. Those were the words of someone who knew she was in danger, who knew Dante was capable of killing her, and she was begging for help. February 3rd, 2023, 7 months after Aisha and Harper were killed, the Dayton Police Department announced disciplinary action. Officers Kathryn Santos and Terrell Moore were suspended without pay for 160 hours, that's 20 days, less than a month, for failing to protect two people who ended up dead. They also received written reprimands, and they were required to attend domestic violence refresher training and tactical training. That's it. No criminal charges, no termination, just a suspension and some training. Aisha's family was furious. Her mother, Aisha Nelson, said the punishment wasn't enough. It could have been prevented, but it wasn't, so now we are here and it's unacceptable. December 6, 2022, 6 months after Aisha and Harper died, the family filed a wrongful death lawsuit against the city of Dayton, the Dayton Police Department, Police Chief Kathryn Hawes, and Officers Santos and Moore. The lawsuit claimed the officers wantonly, willfully, recklessly, negligently, and in bad faith disregarded Aisha's pleas for help. It stated that the deaths were entirely preventable, that if the officers had done even the bare minimum, all three people would still be alive: Aisha, Harper, and even Dante. Aisha's sister, Aisha Nelson, said it perfectly: "If the cops did their job, not only would Aisha and Harper be alive, but Dante would be alive too. Because if police had arrested Dante that night, he wouldn't have killed anyone. He would be in jail, alive, getting help. Instead, 3 people are dead." The family's attorney, Michael Wright, stood before cameras and said, "After only 30 minutes of talking to Aisha and Mr. Hawes, these officers made no decisions and simply left the location. These officers failed this family, they failed Aisha, and they failed Harper." The lawsuit sought accountability, answers, and changes to how the Dayton Police Department handles domestic violence calls, because what happened to Aisha and Harper can't happen to anyone else. But then came the devastating blow. June 7, 2023, 1 year after Aisha and Harper were killed, Montgomery County Common Pleas Court Judge Stephen Dankoff dismissed the lawsuit. His ruling, under Ohio law, Officers Santos and Moore had no duty to control the conduct of Dante Hawes. Because Dante wasn't in police custody when he killed Aisha and Harper, there was no special relationship. And without a special relationship, there was no legal duty to protect them. The judge ruled that the officers didn't violate any law by leaving Dante in that house with that gun. That even though Aisha told them he threatened her, even though she told them about the gun, even though she begged for help, the officers had no legal obligation to do anything. The lawsuit was dismissed. No accountability, no justice, no consequences beyond a 20-day suspension. So who was Aisha Nelson? She was 31 years old. She was a mother. She loved Harper more than anything in the world. She worked hard. She paid her rent. She tried to do everything right. And when she found herself in a dangerous situation, she did exactly what you're supposed to do. She called the police. And they failed her. Who was Harper Monroe Guine? She was 6 years old. She loved her mom. She had her whole life ahead of her. First grade, birthday parties, growing up, making friends, falling in love, having a family of her own someday. All of that was taken from her because 2 police officers didn't think her mom's fear was real. Aisha's mother, Aisha Nelson, said the holidays have been unbearable. "We cannot celebrate any holidays right now. I just ask that we get what we deserve and that nobody else has to go through this." But they didn't get what they deserved. The lawsuit was dismissed, the officers kept their jobs, and Aisha and Harper are still dead. This case highlights a massive problem with how police handle domestic violence. Victims are expected to act a certain way, to look a certain way, to sound a certain way, and if they don't, if they're too calm, too articulate, too composed, police assume they're not really in danger. But domestic violence victims are often calm, because they've learned that crying or yelling makes things worse, because they're trying to survive, because they're trying to protect their children, because they're trying to explain clearly so police will actually help them. Aisha Nelson did everything right. She called police. She told them about the threats. She told them about the gun. She explained that she couldn't leave. She begged for help. And police looked at her calm demeanor and decided she wasn't really scared, that she wasn't really in danger, that they didn't need to do anything. And 1 hour later, she and her 6-year-old daughter were dead. Rest in peace, Aisha Nelson. You were 31 years old. You were a mother. You were a survivor trying to protect your baby. You did everything you were supposed to do, and the system failed you. Rest in peace, Harper Monroe Guine. You were 6 years old. You were an innocent child who trusted the adults in your life to keep you safe, and they failed you. To every domestic violence victim watching this, please hear me. If police don't take you seriously, keep calling, document everything, record conversations, keep text messages, tell family, tell friends, tell coworkers, tell everyone, because sometimes police fail, sometimes they don't listen, sometimes they let their biases decide who deserves help. And if you're a police officer watching this, please learn from Officers Santos and Moore's mistakes. Don't assume how a victim should act. Listen to their words. Take threats seriously. Seize weapons. File reports. Do your job, because one day someone's life will depend on it. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Do you think the officers should have faced criminal charges? Do you think the lawsuit should have been dismissed? What should change so this never happens again? Subscribe for more true crime stories, share this video, and let's make sure Aisha and Harper's story is never forgotten. Stay safe out there, and remember, if you're in danger, keep asking for help until someone listens.